At 1:15 p.m. on March 27, 1977, a small bomb exploded in a flower shop in the terminal at Gando Airport on Gran Canaria Island. Due to the explosion, several aircraft were diverted to the nearby Los Rodeos Airport on the island of Tenerife. Los Rodeos is a very small airport that isn't built for having many large planes land there. The airport only had one runway and one taxiway, so several jumbo jets needed to park on the taxiway. Because it was clogged with planes, one would need to taxi on the runway and then turn around and get in position to take off. Because of the diversion, two Boeing 747s would land at the airport. Pan Am Flight 1730, the first 747 built for commercial use, flying in from Los Angeles, and KLM Flight 4805, flying in from Amsterdam. Along with those two, many other planes gave the short-staffed tower crew a very hard time. Because the airport is small, and it was a Sunday, only two air traffic controllers were stationed at the time. ATC had to direct planes by radio and visual contact only, since the airport didn't have any radar, and to make matters worse, it was a foggy day, meaning that pilots and ATC couldn't see anything. At about 5 p.m., Gando Airport was declared safe and planes began to take off once again. KLM 4805 was directed to taxi to the end of the runway to prepare for takeoff. At the same time, Pan Am 1736 was ordered to taxi and then leave at the third exit, proving difficult because of the fog. Obviously, they missed the turn and then slowly had to keep moving along the runway. The two 747s were now facing each other on nearly opposite ends of the runway. On the KLM flight, the captain, Jacob Veldhuizen van... I don't know, it's Dutch, I can't pronounce that, was starting to get pretty antsy and was disengaging the brakes and starting to roll forward without getting proper takeoff clearance from the tower. The first officer called the tower to request clearance, and the tower responded with the route the plane should take after takeoff. The first officer responded with the phrase, "We are now at takeoff," and the air traffic controller responded with, "Okay, stand by," and, get ready for takeoff. At that exact moment, Pan Am 1736 called in to remind everybody that it existed. The clashing radio calls resulted in a burst of static that obstructed all but one word, "Okay." Believing he had permission to take off now, Veldhuizen van Zanten started the plane. The flight engineer brought up the Pan Am plane, but the captain just brushed it off and continued takeoff. Flight 1736 pilots saw the KLM first, only having enough time to turn instead of completely avoiding a collision. Van Zanten tried to take off early so he could fly over the Pan Am, but it was no use. Because it had just been refueled, it was too heavy and couldn't get off the ground in time. The two planes then collided on the runway. The KLM plane crashed into the runway and exploded in a large fireball, killing all on board. As the Pan Am plane burned on the runway, 61 people were able to survive, jumping off the wing in order to get away. In all, 583 people were killed, largely due to the uncontrollable fires. Following the disaster, KLM took responsibility, paying compensation to the families affected. Due to Veldhuizen van Zanten's restlessness and the other flight crew not questioning his actions, combined with poor radio communication, those were determined to be the causes of the accident. Pilots are now encouraged to question their higher-ups, and higher-ups are urged to listen to such questions. Radio communications between planes and air traffic controllers is more strict, no longer using basic words and phrases like "okay" and saying takeoff, only when giving proper clearance.